I want to tell about how I got over my fear of injections and needles and so forth. And so my backstory is a former Division I college athlete, walk on. And I always thought that, when you think about injections and needles and getting medications that require injections, right, like testosterone or peptides, they're like steroids or like they're cheating, right? So I never thought of them. But as I get older, I metaphorically hit a wall, cognitively, medically, and physically in my 20s, and kind of looked like this, right? Which was not good. And so what happened was I kind of had to get over that stigma, right? It's kind of tough to get over that stigma, either if it's testosterone or using growth hormone enhancement or peptide therapies. It all has a stigma that's really hard to get past, right? And so myself included, I lacked the basic education of what heart smart testosterone optimization was, what functional medicine was. Getting over that hump of like, this is done right under a functional medicine specialist, done right to kind of optimize your marks to 25 years long internally, like your internal functions, your biomarkers, right? It's actually something that you can do to enhance and improve your quality of life, your vitality, focus, and so forth, right? And so the problem is, I guess it gets back to the basics, is I just terrified of needles, right? So I'll just be honest, whenever I gave blood to those like blood draws in high school or college, I was the person that actually like fainted, right, in the seat, and not cool. And so I realized after some time, having spoken with quite a few mentors of mine, and the current specialist, Dr. Ryan, I work with, right, that for some time, therapeutic injections, right, done right, have kind of some of the highest absorption rates and low side effect profile for some certain types of therapies like growth hormone peptides or heart smart testosterone optimization. And so overall, the self-injection therapies are kind of a safe and effective way to manage a variety of health conditions, if it's diabetes, autoimmune disorders, or whatever, right? But getting back to testosterone and growth hormone peptides, I used to think the best way to do testosterone was just things that dissolve in your mouth, troches, or readily dissolvable tablets or creams. But if in reality, if you want to kind of get the highest absorption rate and lowest side effect profile, you do microinjections. And the reason why is when you do kind of microinjections with diabetic insulin needle, intramuscular has the highest absorption rate. And also it doesn't kind of have those conversion issues, right? So if you effectively inject into, sub-Q or alternative use creams or other modalities are inefficient, right? Sometimes they have to go through the dermis layer, which goes through the adipose tissue layer. Adipose tissue has aromatase enzymes. They take some of that testosterone and convert it to estrogen, right? So that causes side effects, right? So if you do microinjections intramuscular, delts, alternate, and glutes, right, then you can kind of have the highest absorption and lowest side effect profile, okay? And so just kind of my kind of epiphany is like, I realize it's like perfectly nervous to get around, nervous around needles, right? These guys right here. And so it's kind of like you're going to feel uncomfortable talking about it. But if you think about where you want to go, and if you really kind of want to get best shape of your life or kind of get better energy levels or better adrenal health, right, and you want to get here to this guy right here where I am today, you need to find a solution, right? Get through the barriers internally that are kind of stopping you from peak cognitive, physical, and metabolic health, right? So how I overcome my fear of needles, as I did my research, spoke to many doctors, and I eventually came across Dr. Ryan. And so by kind of coming over my internal barriers, I came across a few solutions and I ended up here, right? And that's where I am today, 5'11", right? And that's pretty decent. So kind of what I thought about it is there's a few barriers internally, right? As I mentioned earlier, like there's a stigma associated with just injections in general, like negative mindset, is it legal, is it cheating, right? So getting over that. And then just the fear of this, right? And so as I kind of learned more about it, I found kind of a few solutions, right, about how to kind of go through this, right? So you have to really start with why. Simon Sinek has an awesome book about when you start with why, if it's a business or a group or an entity, organization, or even a project or an endeavor. If you start with why, you need to kind of understand what you're trying to get to. So if you're really anxious like me about injecting medication, if you take a stop and say, hey, look, my health is important. I don't want to be the barrier to better health, better optimization. I don't want to be that. And so if you understand that this is kind of in injecting like life force and keeping your body healthy and strong, right? Even if it makes you uncomfortable, you're getting a benefit. In our case, enhanced longevity, improved adrenal health, metabolic health, or, feeling 25 years younger, right? And so why is important? Getting reps in. Arnold Schwarzenegger is huge about this. It's like, it's all about the reps. Like if you read about his success stories or his kind of vision, he said, I can do anything I want to. That's my belief if I get the reps in. And so what I mean by that for simply something like as basic as injections is For the first time I did it, Dr. Ryan told me to have a partner, like a fiance, inject the first 5 right here. And, just keep practicing. After 5, you'll get used to it. And over time, you can start altering the amount based off your unique profile, right? And that's another separate conversation because everyone has a different modality or different amount of optimized testosterone or growth hormone peptides or medication for their own biomarkers or for where they want to be. Everyone's injection amount should be different, right? And so another kind of solution is when you're doing the actual injection, this is kind of embarrassing, but like distract yourself, right? So if you're doing a self-injection, you're like, oh man, I don't want to do this. Like what I do sounds kind of silly is like, I actually like chew down on my shirt or like grab a piece of like my skin and just look away, right? And just do it. And so over time, if you do that, you'll just be able to get comfortable with it. And then obviously basics, advanced basics, rotate injection sites, right? So we do intramuscular, I am right, left deltoid, right? So and the glute as well, right, left, and just kind of keep rotating to limit the pain, bruising, and scarring, right? And so if you don't give the injection the same place, right, the sites will kind of limit that. And the best solution I can tell you is really just the idea of microdosing, right? And so when you use a growth hormone enhancement or peptides or testosterone with diabetic insulin needles, right, you're injecting with these teeny little things, diabetic insulin needles that are super small, right? And if you hit the right spot in the glutes and the intramuscular, right, delts, it shouldn't feel anything, right? You should feel kind of pain-free. So using the right technique, rotating injection sites, distracting yourself, starting with why, and keep practicing. And over time, you'll overcome the fear of injections. You understand, hey, there's an actual benefit, right? So hopefully this was helpful. And hopefully you're not going to get scared like me of these guys.